the Financial G-Spot. I am Trevor Crane, and this show is all about focusing on that specific area that you need to focus on so that you can have a money orgasm. And wouldn't you agree that having a money orgasm would be better with a partner? I would say yes. So today I'm going to bring you someone very special who I share my life with. So I'm going to ask some questions and you'll get to learn some things about us and also how it can help improve your relationship. Because people fight about money. Look, I'm sitting in the snow here. Why am I sitting in the snow? Because I want you to think about this. Relationships go through changes, and you may be in some sort, and just like the weather, right? So you might be in winter. And when people are in winter in their relationship, they oftentimes avoid it, ignore it, don't want to be out in the cold. So I'm here out in the cold, facing the winter, so that you could have fun with us and enjoy some time with us here. So I'd like to bring up my husband, and we're going to talk about love and money, because February is dedicated to love and money. It's Love and Money Month, and time for you to improve your relationship. Face all those issues, face the winter, get out in the cold, put everything out there so that you can have your money orgasm together. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my husband, Trevor Crane. Yeah!
Well, thank you very much.
Michelin, man. Oh, you want to make out?
Yeah, can we have a kiss?
Okay. Making out on the show, Financial G-Spot. What up?
I'm actually not this heavy. It's just this jacket.
We can do punching bag. We can do punching bags in the snow. Maybe if you stick around, we'll roll in the snow. And maybe
I don't
not.
think so.
You'll have to wait to see. So, honey, we're talking about love and money. Mm-hmm. And there's several subjects, things that really tend to kill a relationship when it comes to love and money. One of those is the whole mine, yours, and ours syndrome. So tell me a little about what you think about that, and then we can tell them together about how it works with us.
Okay, so mine, yours, and ours. Well, when we were dating, before we got married, I started off with nothing. Like, I had met Robin, and I had just filed a bankruptcy, so I thought it was the worst possible time and to start a relationship.
And most attractive way to attract a woman in your life.
Here's all my baggage, and I just unloaded it. So when we got started, when we became a couple, you know, I've always had this concept of team. So for me, there was never a question of anything. It's always like, what's mine is yours.
He was willing to give me all his debt. He is going to share the debt, share it all.
Well, I mean, I'm very team oriented. So for me, there was never even a question when it came to us finally getting together as a couple. And when I actually asked you to marry me, you know, I had always thought there wasn't any mine, there wasn't any yours. It was all going to be ours. And there was never a question in my mind. However, someone else had other thoughts about that. I mean, at the time I wasn't broke, so that wasn't, you know, a big deal necessarily, but.
Well, I mean, I didn't necessarily not want it to be ours. I will just tell you from experience how I grew up, which is, you know, my dad was the breadwinner, and my mom actually didn't work for most of maybe half of my childhood till I was about, I think, 8 or 10. And then she went to become a pre-kindergarten teacher at a private school, making very little money. So basically, my dad's money was their money, or as my mom would say, this is our money.
Yes,
my husband now has experienced that. And once she started making money, she had her money. So it was my money. So what I was exposed to was there's my money and there's our money. But there wasn't really his money. For some reason, my dad didn't claim the stake. However, I don't think I really felt like that's how I was assuming it would be with us, and I don't think I put that on. But at the same time, you know, because of how we met in our relationship, and because you did go through challenges financially, it was a step for me to just be like, okay, I have to be open about this, and I want to bring it together as a team as well.
Well, I had always made a lot of money in my businesses. So and me just sharing and being giving was just was natural to me.
So natural.
It was so
You're
natural.
Such a giver.
But I think
the
thing here is there's a lot of fights in relationships. I mean, your question is, how do you deal with that when you have a couple that's arguing? And here's what we did, because there was a little stress around it. Like, what are we going to do when we make money? And how do you merge your checking accounts?
Especially before we were married. I got to say, before we were married, it was very stressful about money, because I did feel like it was mine, and it did feel like it was yours. Once we got married or engaged even, I started to think more of a team. But continue.
Well, I think the thing here is that we communicated about it. Like, it wasn't this thing that there was no taboo subject that we couldn't talk about. So I know that you talk about your 4 keys of the 4 keys of a richer relationship. And I think that the key was, for me, is that we talked about it. Because if there was an issue, then we talked about it, and then it wasn't really an issue anymore.
Yeah, and a lot of people ask me, well, what is the right thing to do? Even my brother's episode when he came on with his fiance, if you haven't seen it, you can go back and watch. But he was asking, well, how do we kind of divide up our money, and how does it work? And what should we have a joint account? They called it the couples card. Should we get a couples card? And the truth is that you have to make it work for you. And like you said, honey, I mean, it's all about communication. So there is, as much as people want to know what's the right way, do we have separate accounts? Do we have joint accounts? Do we have both? Isn't it true that you should always have some accounts in your name? I mean, there are certain rules you can live by, but typically, like, the main thing of advice to you, what do I do when I'm in a relationship in regards to
your love and money.
Your love and money is to really be open about it, to communicate about it, and then figure out rules that work for you. Because for my dad, you might be thinking, well, gosh, that wouldn't work for us to have my money or our money and my money. Forget yours. But for my
ironically, that does feel a little bit like that though sometimes, but because you
we'll
model
we'll get into that.
Well, you model your mom.
We'll get into that after the next break. It's going to be very, very juicy. But what I was going to say is that my dad was fine with my mom having her money. But there will be more on that when we come back after the break. I might put on my goggles just to be protected and be ready for any snowstorm. This is a Financial G-Spot. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to the Financial G-Spot. I'm Robin Crane, your host, and Trevor snuck off, so I thought maybe I can tell you some juicy stuff. So the truth is, when we first met and he had gone through bankruptcy and I was actually a financial planner, there was a lot of anxiety. And it's not that I actually wouldn't say this in front of him, just he snuck off, so I figured I'd just talk you and me. But I did have anxiety because I was worried. He had gone through a bankruptcy. He, didn't have much money. Obviously, he had debt. And coming from a financial planning background and a saver, it was definitely something that concerned me. But the reality is, love beats everything. And I did totally fall in love, and the money issue didn't seem like an issue so much anymore. But as he said, what really kept our love alive was that we were able to communicate. And there were times I remember when we were in this small apartment in New Jersey, when I would really freak about money. And I remember just like crying because I was really scared, and you may have heard this before, but I had super money issues that I just had anxiety and worry regardless of what was going on in my financial situation. And then to bring him in and have this baggage, as he said, was definitely scary. And luckily for me, Trevor's always been so amazing about communicating with me. And when I don't want to talk about something, or when I'm scared and I just shut down, he brings it out of me. He really will kind of make me talk and really discuss things. And that's really important. So I'm not sure how you are with your partner or your spouse, or maybe you're not in a relationship and you're not really sure how to bring up the subject of money and how to talk about it. But the fact is that you just have to do it. You just have to force yourself to do it, because relationships, are getting torn apart by money. And it's ridiculous. Half the people that get married get divorced. And it's such, money is one of these things that can really enhance your life, enhance your experiences together, or it can completely destroy it. And communication is absolute number one. Now, I teach 4 keys. You might have heard this, or maybe you got my download before. You can actually go to richerrelationship.com if you haven't. But the 4 keys are clarity, communication, creation, and commitment. And clarity is all about having transparency about your money. I met with a potential client the other day, and she actually, speaking of mine, yours, and ours, she has her money. Her husband has his money, and they don't have trouble talking about it, but they just don't. It's kind of like everything's kind of separate, and they put money in and they'll help each other out. It's not like they're not a team. But they don't have transparency about the money. And if you don't have transparency about your finances, you can pretty much rest assured that you're going to have money problems. And not only that, let me just say this: even if you don't have crazy money problems because you're not clear about the other person's situation. Oh, here he comes. Well, it's still, you're not optimizing. You're not optimizing your financial situation. You know, if you have any debt and he's paying some and you're paying some and you're not using it as a team, well, that gets messed up as well. Anyway, Trevor's back. Honey, want to come back? I just figured I'd talk to them while you were gone.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, one thing I wanted to mention as well. So Love and Money Month is, I'm going to bring really cool people to the show. I'm going to interview some couples, find out what helps them, and I'm sure communication is going to be huge, but you'll get to hear lots of different stories. And I'm going to have some special offers available. I have a Love and Money program that you can get into, and also I'll have some webinars and things like that. So make sure you stay tuned, and if you haven't yet been to my website, robincrane.com, make sure you go there and get in so you know when I'm giving stuff away. I was just telling them how I did have a lot of anxiety actually when we first started getting together, and I remembered that. So, I
didn't have to hear it?
But you were saying that I'm like, yeah, you hear it every day, lucky guy. So you were saying that I'm like my mother. Please expand on that.
No,
I'm sure she's one of the people watching.
No, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't have any idea.
Yes, that's it. So
that's it.
Mine, yours, and ours, and I'm just like my mother, and I told them to come after the break, and now there's nothing for you to say?
Yep, I have nothing more to comment on that.
I'm just assuming what he means is that I do the money that I make, I like to feel like it's mine, and I'm proud of that money. Okay.
And I'm like your dad in that I don't really care whether you made it, I made it, anything. I mean, if she made 20 times more money than me, I'd be cool with that. I think that it's a man's job to live his purpose, and it's important that you provide, but I could care less whether, and it's all team to me, so I'm happy with you making your money.
So
Big
that
buckets
gets
of
into
money.
the whole power thing. You know, some guys have challenges when their wife makes more money than them. Obviously, we can tell from what you just said, but it sounds like that wouldn't be a challenge for you. If I made 20 times, 100 times the amount of money I'm making right now, or when I do make more money than you, because sometimes it happens. What up?
It has happened. I just think it's cool.
Do you feel less than?
No, I understand. If someone's not providing, I could understand. I mean, when I went through my lawsuit, when I lost my businesses, my net worth was my self-worth was attached to my net worth. And when I was way in debt and I wasn't used to being there and I lost everything, I just felt awful. I felt like I was worthless. And so it was hard to go ahead and feel that way and not be making any money, but I was in a business, in a situation that I didn't feel like I had a way out of. And so ultimately, it went down and down and down. It got bad, and worse until it got better. And I can understand that if a man's not providing, how they could feel bad. But because I was there. I mean,
now, by the way, some women might be like, well, if a man's not providing, you know, like that's a negative thing. But I gotta say, I like it. I like to have a man to provide, and I don't think that makes me any less of a feminist.
You like me providing, not providing.
I like you providing. Yeah, you can provide more. I'm happy if you want to provide more. More is always great. But I do think that's true, and I think as a woman, I want that. I want to feel like a man takes care of me. And it doesn't have to be the amount of money, but there is something about that kind of wanting that chivalry and you to take care of me. But I'm still a little girl inside.
Yeah, she definitely likes to be taken care of. I think here the key again is just honesty and being open. When I met Robin and we started dating, or before we dated, I told her what was going on in my life because I didn't want to hide anything. I mean, I'd been in situations where people would lie and cheat and steal and try to pretend to be something they're not, and I just couldn't take it. So I think that's real important. Honesty and openness.
And that goes with my step of communication. I talked about clarity, and the openness is a lot about clarity, transparency about the money and what's going on. And there are two more keys, creation and commitment. So we'll talk a little bit about that and some other issues right after the break. Again, this is Financial G-Spot. No! And we can get a snowball fight. stay.
But baby, it's cold outside.
It's snowing today.
But baby, it's cold outside.
Don't let money get in the way.
But it's so awesome
of
here
your
today.
Relationship today.
This
You
is
have
my
to communicate. Okay, sorry.
this is my daughter's little thing. I'm not that weird, really.
Well,
maybe.
you're weird because you wore it. So, welcome back to the Financial G-Spot. Again, I'm Robin Crane here with my husband Trevor Crane, who also has a show on Wit Nation. So we're on the Whatever It Takes Network. You can
My
check
show's
out,
called
I was
Greatness
just gonna
Quest.
say, you can check out Greatness Quest, which is really great about becoming your best. He interviews extraordinary people. But really, again, I want to just make sure, why are we in the snow? Part of it is, again, because you, just like the winter that sometimes you want to avoid, you do not want to avoid the tough times or the tough weather in your relationship. I'm really bad at metaphors, but I hope you can understand that. Right, honey?
Yes.
And while you're getting prepared, and as a good idea, it's always, you always want to be prepared for things coming up in your relationship. Snow hitting you in the face. Are you prepared? Oh! You got to be prepared, and you got to face the issues.
I'm
Isn't
not
that deep?
I'm not facing down in the
No,
snow.
that would suck. But I talked about the 4 keys. I forgot them. Clarity, communication, creation, and commitment. So creation. Tell them how, like, what we've how we do creation together, honey. Well, that does not sound right. Don't tell them about how we create.
Yeah, that's
Procreate.
more personal.
I'm not talking about procreating.
Yeah,
We
that's
haven't done
we do that
yet.
privately.
Creation, like goals and stuff, and how it works, and how you get frustrated with me sometimes. Can
Okay.
I just say one other thing as I ask him a question and then interrupt? We both work from home, and we have most meals together and see each other almost 24 hours a day. So the fact that we're still together is pretty amazing when it comes to that. Working together a lot, being at home all day
Love
together.
and money, honey.
Love and money.
Love
Oh.
and money. Yeah.
Not that
Yeah,
we're the
very
poster
nice.
children or anything, but I just
Not that we're no. Okay.
worth mentioning.
Okay, so creation.
Creation, tell
You
them
want-
about
so-
goals and
Okay, so we talk about money all the time. We talk about how much we make. We talk about whether or not we put when we make purchases. Actually, when it comes to creation, I don't know. We're talking about spending money. We don't actually consult each other all the time when we buy things. I know that sometimes that's what couples will fight about is, I can't believe you came back with those shoes. So I totally believe that if Robin wants to buy something, that she absolutely should. And same with me. I don't ask permission. I'm not the kind of guy
doesn't
that's
ask
going to...
permission for
No,
anything.
I don't
ever.
ask permission. So I think that you should be able to buy anything you want, spend money however you want. However, we do not mislead each other. We do not lie. We do not, hide anything, when it comes to it. And we will definitely consult, like, is this a good investment? Should we buy this? Should we buy that? I'd say we do actually talk about a lot of our decisions, but here's the key point, I think this is important that people, we have an open relationship. We have an open communication about it so that we can do whatever we want. And I think we talk about money and create our goals, not just at New Year's, but all year long. And we talk about our progress, like how's it going? I think for us, it's not like we just wait for one little section or one day that we create. We're constantly coming up with new ideas and we're constantly communicating about it. And if we do disagree and argue, which does happen sometimes,
And we definitely don't blame.
the fact that we're communicating about it, we get through it quickly.
And 2 things I want to say, if I can remember the 2 things. One is, you might be thinking when he's saying, oh, well, she can buy what she wants and I can buy what I want. And as long as we're open about it, that's okay. And you might be in a relationship where that's not okay. I mean, not only are you not open about it, but you might think, well, I'm not open about it because my husband or wife is totally going to judge me and make me feel bad. So I actually, in my Love and Money course, one of the things I teach, and we're joking about the blaming, and not that we don't do it because I've been known to blame in my day, but one of the things that I teach is to follow these money talk rules to live by. And it's all about no blaming, no judging, and making no excuses. Because if you have conversations about money and you find that it's often ending in a fight, well, it's typically going to be because you're either judging or you're blaming or you're making excuses. And it sounds simple, but I know it's hard not to do those things. But if even 15 minutes a week, you have a conversation about money, whether it's what you're spending money on or what, making money decisions and all that, where you're spending your time in order to bring money to the household. If you can follow those 3 rules, and there's 3 others that you can learn, but if you can even follow those, my hands are really numb. I'm like trying to find the figures. Those 3 rules, no blaming, no judging, no excuses. It's huge. I mean, I had clients who were on the brink of divorce, and pretty much they couldn't even look at their money together. They couldn't even take action because there was so much overwhelm and anxiety. So what they had to do was follow this, what I call the one chat weekly format, to speak every week about money in a 15-minute chunk and follow those 3 rules. And it saved their marriage. I mean, they will swear by it that it saved their marriage because finally they had communication.
Well, I think that people should, what's worked for us is that we talk about it. We talk about things, and if we're upset about things, we talk about things. We rarely let things stack up and then have a big fight. But if we do, we get it out. Like, there's never going to be a romantic comedy based on our a movie, romantic comedy on our life, because we don't have any hidden secrets, and because we communicate. Yeah, we will argue, we'll not agree, we will fight sometimes.
You're only making yourself look bad, honey, by pointing at me the whole time, because I think I'm an angel because I host the Financial Juice Box.
I just think that it's important that you those 4 simple things. If you have clarity and you communicate, and what are the other ones? It's a clarity, communication,
creation, commitment. So
commitment.
The second thing I was going to say about creation is that creation is really about getting aligned and in line about your goals. So what is it that you want? The things that you maybe don't talk about before you get married, and then all of a sudden one wants private school and one wants public school, and it seems to be this huge decision. Well, 1, you want to talk about those things early, but 2, you want to look at things together as like, how can we create the life that we want for ourselves and our kids, and make these decisions together.
Well, I think the key is that you come to a point where you agree. Now, I think there are times when we create things and we talk about whatever that we want, whether it's a rule for our family or a vacation we're going to take or something we're going to buy or something, and we'll tend to agree. However, there are times when we don't. But the fact that we're communicating, we can agree not to agree, and still we can, but I think that's an important piece, is that you have the communication. You don't always have to agree, which we don't. Because I think that's ridiculous to go ahead and assume, you always have to, in this creation part.
You're not going to agree, and it's that you're aligned to figure out a solution together. I have a friend who she wanted to make sure that her kids went to private school, and her husband was fine with public school. And he actually, he's the breadwinner. He makes a lot of money, and he did not want to put that money towards private school. He just didn't believe it. He didn't agree. And she, luckily she had, worked before they got married, and she had money saved up, and she said, well, then I'll pay for it. And she had a stash that was possible. So that may not be always possible. That's not always the solution. But the reality is that you may not find something that you both want to do, but because you love the person and you're committed, which is step number 4, because you're committed, that you find a way to make it work. Well, and as much as I don't want to say you compromise, but you
come up with another option. See, if I'm given 3 options, like, do I want this or this or this? I always choose option D or E, which is I want all of the above, and I want to find out a new get flexible and get creative so you can still get what you want, because I'm not willing to give that up no matter what, but I want her to win as well. So, that means that it's whether it's compromise or coming up with a different solution, I think that it is possible, it's doable, and it's required, or you're going to have big tension. And I think that's why relationships end up devolving, is that people start to build resentment because somebody wins. And you don't have a real winner if it's going to be...
I'm pretty sure that means I win all the time. So, moving on.
Yeah, that's accurate. That is actually accurate.
So, creation's also about, creating the plan, and then commitment's following through. Commitment is about following through with the plan, following through with your commitment. If you are married, and maybe you're not yet, but if you are married, to be fully committed to that person, regardless of the money.
Well, I think this is an important thing about commitment, because your 4 keys of a richer relationship, which you're giving that away to everyone,
Richerrelationship.com.
So if you go to richerrelationship.com, you'll get the 4 keys. But when it comes to commitment, what I like best, it's not about you're committed to this goal, whether you're going to save a bunch of money, make a bunch of money, put your kids through school. Yes, that needs to happen. That's what you're committed to. But I love the fact that you share that the commitment, the importance is that it's to the person that you love first, because it's love and money, not the other way around. Whoa. Love and money.
Jinx. Oh, now he can't talk for the rest of the time.
And
Trevor. Okay,
thank you.
So
another game our daughter came up with, and
she did not come up with Jinx.
Okay.
I think it's hilarious that my husband thinks that Phoenix came up with Jinx. You all know Jinx. We used to say, Jinx, you owe me a Coke, but I'm sure you have your ways. Anyway, love and money. I appreciate you joining in. We're so happy to share our life with you and just sit and have a chat. We just kind of wanted to be casual and sit out here in the freezing snow, freezing our
my fingers are
fingers
definitely
off.
cold.
But because we really want to help you, and if you want, definitely go get that the 4 keys to a rich relationship.
Well, and this is just your first. This is a whole month of love and money interviews.
We still
right?
interrupt each other. We definitely still
Does that
interrupt
happen?
each
I don't
other.
know. Does that happen?
So go to richerrelationship.com to get the 4 keys, and then you'll also be notified of what's coming up, because this is a Love and Money Month. There's going to be really cool people. I'm not going to tell you who yet, but really cool people coming on the show. Very, very excited to have them here. They're going to share some amazing
Not necessarily
insight.
as cool
Not
as this
not necessarily
interplay,
as cool as this.
interaction.
And then I'll let
stuff.
you know, like, when things are coming up, like really great webinars or special videos and all that. So thank you for tuning in. Again, you're watching the Financial Juice Spot on the Whatever It Takes Network. I'm Robin Crane, and this is my honey of all honeys, Trevor Crane.
As I let
the
my golden
man.
locks come out.
And give me a kiss, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right.